Not. I just realized my face looks very off-putting. I mean, that's a normal thing, but it looks very off-putting because it looked like I was upset. I am not at all upset. I was just concentrating when I started the live feed, trying to figure out why Matt's Ultratech is so stiff. Let's see who shows up. I just literally just woke up. I was up until late last night. Someone's here. I bet it's Jeremy. Oh, it's Mark. It's usually either Jeremy or Mark. They're usually the first ones. What's up, everybody? Just trying to. Frank, I am going to do a video about the beads. I just have not. I've been so busy with everything. I'm barely able to have time to film this stuff that is already scheduled to film. You know, I had a schedule of knives and stuff, so I'm going to do a video about the beads. Some of them already went out. I just had this apart earlier, right after I woke up, trying to figure out why Matt's Ultratech has always been so stiff. So I had it apart. I don't see anything wrong with it. It's definitely not dirty. Man, I could have at least like combed my beard. It's not like it's dirty or anything. It's just stiff, real stiff. Like some people gotta use two hands. Can you have them? Yeah, you absolutely can have them. You can buy them. You can order them. Can't fuck carry them. This is an 86. So this is a 2020, just clean fronted. I like this. Yeah, this is Darren's. I'm just comparing the action to this one. I had this one apart earlier. I just got done putting it back together. Took it apart. I oiled all of the points, all of the gates, the spring, the sled, the button. It wasn't dirty, and it's not as stiff, but holy crap is this one stiff. Compared to mine that you played with, Christian, I thought. No, you can't carry them at all. I mean, legally, you can't carry them. I carry whatever. I honestly don't care. I don't. This is a 2009. Break-in period's way gone. This knife is not. This one opens fairly easy. It's stiff to close, and I can't figure out why. It's actually the second time I've had this particular 2009 model apart. I got a screw I didn't tighten all the way. There we go. And those screws they're a pain. Those screws strip out. Well, not the screws. The screws don't strip out. This shitty little tool that's like $60 strips out. Microtech's got a corner on the market, or whoever it is that's making these, where I ordered these Microtech tools from. They're crappy. They don't fucking last very long. They strip out real easy, and they're like $60. I got pivot tools from Microtechs. I got the reverse pivot tool from Microtechs. So you have the socketed tri-wing pivot, then you have the raised tri-wing pivot, and then you have the Ultratech 3-pin, and then you have the Ultratech tri-wing, and another Ultratech tri-wing, and they're all stripped. The only one's not stripped, the only one that actually still works, I don't know why I keep the other ones. There's two of them that work. The 3-pin and the socketed pivot. It's the only one of those tools that work. And they're expensive. They are expensive. They're a set of, like if you got I had to buy this and this together, right? It was $80 for me to be able to take my DOC apart. This is stripped. And now I can't even, my DOC has got a loose screw, and I can't even get the pocket clip off to get to it because all of my Microtech tools are stripped. They're poorly made tools. I didn't get them from Microtech. I bought them from a website. Microtech has a set of Microtech tools that costs like $250 for their proprietary hardware. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to take a knife apart that bad. I'll just send it back. So, what's everybody up to? Guys, I have a giveaway on my Instagram. I'm giving away the Krag. Which one am I giving away? Is this the Krag? I'm giving away a CJRB Krag. Yes. I am giving this knife away on my Instagram channel. If you go and you find it, you find my Instagram feed, you got to slog through some memes and stuff and get down to it. All you got to do is follow my Instagram, follow Artisan Cutlery's Instagram, and mention 2 people. Tag 2 people in it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to set alarm for myself. I'm going to give it 3 more hours because there's only like 6 people that did it. I'm going to give myself like 3 more hours. I'll do it like right at noon. You'll see a post go up saying who the winner is. I'm not going to do like a video. I'm just going to use a random name generator, random comment generator. I'll just assign everybody a number. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to try and do that on a video. I get too much other stuff to do today. So I just have some free time this morning. Daughter comes home. I've got to go pick up meds. I've got a doctor's appointment. I got to get my jaw looked out again. See how it's healing, how the infection is going. This reminds me, I have to take my antibiotics. Today's the last day of antibiotics. This stuff makes me sick. So that's part of the reason you guys haven't seen much from me. Between the fact I had the jaw infection, the antibiotics they gave me, they just don't make me feel. It made me feel bad. I haven't worked out in like 2 weeks. I haven't done anything like almost 3 weeks. So, yeah, it's been weird. So, but I've got a bunch of stuff I got to do. I got to take the car and get. Yep, there's definitely rem oil all over that piece of tissue. My coffee is going to taste like that now. It's in my mustache. Just grabbed a paper towel off the counter that I just used to wipe the excess rem oil off of this knife. I had to put a lot of rem oil on this because I don't have one of the ones. I don't have a pin needler. I got this one, and I don't know if you know this. There's a very fine line between a drop and a oh crap. It's everywhere. So we're gonna let that rem oil sit in there and do its magic. It is definitely a lot more smooth. It's just not as smooth as I would expect it to be. So yeah, and I'm gonna do a giveaway. I do know that it's almost the middle of the month, but I am doing a giveaway this month so that you guys know you can expect that video to go up today too. We are giving away on the went over there. On the YouTube channel, we are going to give away what I think personally is probably my #1 knife of 2020 so far. My favorite knife of 2020 so far. Now it doesn't have the custom clip. CJRB Rhea. We are going to be giving this away today. I'm going to announce this today. So keep your eyes open for that, for the micarta, the green micarta, CJRB Rhea. It just flew out of my hand. This is the giveaway for November. I'm not announcing the giveaway here. I am going to do a video this morning. I'm trying to shoot a couple videos. I am going to try and get stuff done. I'm going to try to get some stuff done today so that I can actually film a tutorial. I have a knife here that is Nico's that I have got to do a full reprofile on. That was something I was going to do as a tutorial. I teach you guys how to do a reprofile when your alignment of your angle is way off. I know that's a little bit more advanced because I had basically just not even gotten into actual sharpening, but there's sometimes that's one of the first things you're going to have to do is reprofile. So if you can reprofile and get that angle straight and maintain it and take off that material and even out a very asymmetrical edge, you should be able to sharpen. So, but we are going to do that. It's part of the tutorial. It's been here forever, and I just haven't had a chance to do it. But so yeah, I'm going to shoot a giveaway video for this. I have other stuff to give away as well. I I am going to be giving away this feldspar. I think feldspar is going to wind up going next month, just so you guys can see what's coming up, so that you know I am going to be still doing giveaways. I know I missed a giveaway in October, but it was a crazy month. So get back on track with November. I am off work until January 1st, so not real happy about it, but it is what it is, so at least I'll have time to shoot videos and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to do a video about the giveaway. This is the CJRB Rhea. This is a very nice, very, very nice knife. I have not seen any issues with this knife. This was just sent to me. Nico had one that had a lockup problem. We fixed the problem. He liked his original. He liked the action on his original better. Nothing wrong with the action on this, but he'd already broken the other one. So I am going to be, God damn it, Neves. Not that I don't appreciate the money. It's just that your super chat took up the whole screen and I couldn't see where I had this and whether anybody else could see it. I'm gonna give this a good once over. I'm probably not gonna sharpen it. It's pretty sharp. I will get this video shot. I am going to do a giveaway video for the members. Members only, not premium tier, just members. I have a knife. No, I have an item, not a knife. I have an item I'm going to be giving away to the... Oh no, that's not. That's also a main channel giveaway. At any rate, I'll get it all figured out today and I'll shoot the video. I'm not 100% woke up. Like I was like bleary-eyed and one-eyed when I was taking this apart. I'm like, because I woke up and I was like, I got Matt's knife. I want to take a look and see why that's so stiff. And as I'm doing it, it's break. I think maybe it just didn't have any lube on it. I think maybe it's just finally starting to lubricate up to where it's way easier. But like I said, this is 2009, and Matt doesn't carry it. This one is out because I was looking at it because I was looking at how much I really like. This is my friend Darren's. There's no markings on that. That is really sterile. The only markings are on the pocket clip. And I like my Microtex that have the logos and stuff on the face, like this, the ones that look like this. I like that. I find that attractive. But I also, that's real under the wire, kind of low key looking. Like it gives it a real tactical feel. And I know that's, you know, tactical. Nobody needs that. But this is a UTX 85. The action on this one is great. It just needs some sharpening stone love. That's all. So hang on a second, guys. I got to do this real quick. I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. There we go. If I don't put my phone on Do Not Disturb, I'll wind up with 100. I'll get interrupted like 100 times. So I have something else that I was going to mention. Oh, I remember what it was. Guys, I still have both of those knives for sale. No one has bid on either one of those custom knives. If you guys, I'll give you guys till... I'm thinking tomorrow. I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to see what the weather's like. I'm going to see what the roads are like. If no one bites on that knife, I'm going to sharpen that knife up. I'm going to take it up to Julian and I'm going to put it up for consignment sale at a knife shop up there. Oh no, I took it all the way apart. I wanted to make sure it was clean. So I thought, you know, maybe it's just dirty. And I was like, I'll just take it apart and clean it. And I took it apart and it is not at all dirty. I think it's just dry. So I took it apart and I lubed the gates, I lubed the rail, I lubed the switch, I lifted the gates out, I wiped it down, and like I said, I didn't get any dirt on my rag really to speak of. If I only had to choose one type of sharpening stone for you mean like if I only had to pick like a difference between diamond or oxide or CBN or something like that, I would have to say it would be just straight up the Edge Pro aluminum oxide stones. As much as I love, David Scott sent me that entire set of diamond matrix stones. There's issues with those. There are issues with those. They are really maintenance intensive. You have to dress those stones like every other knife, and it's just reached a point where I can't. I spend as much time cleaning and dressing those stones as I do sharpening, and so I just don't use them. I have switched back to I use some of the diamond stones. I use some of the aluminum oxide stones. I've been looking into it a lot. There are still some steels that I use the diamonds on, but I'm also having problems with the diamond stones. My 2300 grit diamond stone likes to catch little burrs of steel, and then the next knife you sharpen, when you get to 2300 grit, you get these deep scratches in it. The aluminum oxide stones, I don't have that problem. So I am going back to aluminum oxide stones. As much as people tell me, you can't cut those carbides. Mohs hardness scale, aluminum oxide is a 9 out of 10. Diamond is a 10. There are very few steels that have carbides that are 9s. It will cut. It just takes a little longer, but I'll take that little bit of extra time on that stone versus having to take and clean everything off my bench, put down the aluminum oxide powder, dress the stone, clean off my bench, make sure all that aluminum oxide got washed off so I don't get it mixed in on a stone, and then I've got like 240 grit aluminum oxide scratching up my stone, and then clean the stones and then go back. That's like 10 minutes extra work. I'll just keep using the aluminum oxides. My Vadev stones, they don't seem to want to cut anymore. I've used them to a point where I don't think that they're working. The Vadev stones have their own issue. They leave a really black, dark line behind the edge, and they're not diamond stones. They are diamond matrix stones. So everybody gets confused. I'm not talking about diamond plates. I am talking about the diamond matrix stones. Yes, you've got to dress those often or they just don't perform the way you want them. And when you do all of the diamond stones, because you sharpen 2 knives and you have to do all the diamond stones, it's going to take you about 15 minutes of total. Move everything so you don't get the grit in it, and then move everything and clean it up. And so it takes, they're great stones. They're great stones if you only sharpen 1 or 2 knives every once in a while. For a guy like me that on a busy day, I'll sharpen 15, 20 knives. I don't have that kind of time in my life. I'll just keep using my aluminum oxide stones. They don't last as long. They do wear sooner. They dish out and you have to flatten them, but I don't have to do it every other knife. I can do an entire run of knives that came in for sharpening and then dress them and then do another set. I can do all of one customer's knives before I have to do anything to those stones. It's just a matter of, plus they're fucking expensive. I don't like diamond plates. I have one diamond plate that I use just for edge profiling. It's a super coarse one. And I do use the 220 grit diamond stone because it doesn't load up and I'm not having problems. It's when I get into the super high grit stuff. I can do the same thing with my other stones. I'm not seeing a difference in the edge. I'm not feeling a difference in the edge. I'm looking at it under a microscope and under a jeweler's loop. I'm not seeing any chipping. I'm not seeing any issues with my edge. Ceramic stones, I have a ceramic stone that I finish a lot of stuff on. It gives you a really good edge if you want to take it that high, because then you're talking like you're in the 10, 12,000 grit range with those ultra fines and stuff. I don't like the ceramic stones for sharpening. I like them for honing. I have a big ceramic ultra fine Spyderco bench stone that I keep in its leather slip, and I finish knives at that point on it. Sometimes I'll finish my knives on it. It does give you a really good edge, but they don't have the horsepower, and they load up, and then you're in the thing like, oh, now my stone's not cutting. I got to take time, and I got to go in. I got to use a green scrubby pad and calm it, and hot water, and I gotta clean that out and then dry it and then go back to work. I don't want that. If I'm sharpening, I just want to fucking sharpen. I don't want to have to be like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, and I got to do this. I want to be able to start in the morning and do all of my prep and then clean up and not have to do any cleanup or prep or dressing or any of that peripheral crap in the middle. It's just, as much as I like those stones, and I did brag about them, and they would be great for somebody that just sharpens a knife here or there. those diamond stones are not for somebody that's going to sharpen 8, 10, 15 knives in a day. So just too much additional time, because you got to look at your, well, you have to look at, and I've told people this, you got to look at your time in your day. Like right now, I am not making money. This is definitely not green time. So your time of your day should be listed in 3 categories: red, yellow, and green. Green time, I'm making money. Green time is when I'm making money. If I'm at work, when I'm digging a hole, that's green time. If I'm making a video, because I do get paid on YouTube for ad revenue, this is green time. But it also would fall into the category yellow time. So your second time is yellow time, which is I'm not actively making money, but I'm doing things that could lead to money in the future, such as making a knife design, doing a custom knife that I'm planning on turning into a knife design, because that's how I prototype things. Then red time is when you're watching TV, you're fucking around on YouTube, you're not doing anything, you're sleeping, you're not making any money, and you're not even giving yourself the prospect of making money. Red, yellow, and green. If you look at your day like that, right now, I consider this yellow time because I get customers from YouTube. I also consider it almost green time because I get paid for ad revenue and things like that. And I just made $10 because Neve sent me a $10 super chat. If you look at your day like that as a person, it doesn't even have to be money. It'd be like family time. Green time, I'm with my family, I'm having fun. Yellow time, I'm doing things that will lead to me being able to have time with my family. Like I'm working overtime so we can have a vacation. Red time, I'm at work, I'm not with my family. Whatever your priorities are, whatever your top thing that you want is, that green time is when you're actually doing it. If that's making money, if it's spending time with your family, if it's, drinking, or whatever your main goal is, that's your green time when you're actively doing it. Your yellow time leads to it, and red time has nothing to do with it at all. Do that at work and your bosses will love you. Like, am I actively doing work for the company? That's green time. Am I doing something that's going to lead to? I've gotten only good feedback. I know there was an issue with some shipping stuff, like there's some labels that got mixed up and some people got an item that was not the sea snake, but I think that's pretty much been worked out. It's absolutely a traffic light. Because when you hit red, all of what it was that you wanted to do below has stopped. That's why, like right now, not a lot going on in the business. I'm doing a lot of stuff here at the house. I have not done a lot of videos, and I have not done a lot of sharpening. The majority of my time has either been yellow or red. So I learned that's a time management skill that I learned a long time ago. I haven't been using it a lot lately because I can't go to work. There's a lot of things I can't do. Business here at the house hasn't been good, and I'm on disability, so it's rough. But I still try to. Like I wake up in the morning, and first thing I do is, okay, what have I got today for green time? Well, today, to tell you the honest to God truth, this is the only green time I have. I have no knives in for sharpening. I have one knife in for sharpening. However, it is a Grimsmo Norseman that has a little bit of blade play. That's purple time. That's purple time, Sky. But what I was saying is I do have a knife here that I could sharpen, but I don't want to sharpen it yet because it's going to make my life a little bit more miserable in the future. I have a Norseman that the first time I've ever seen it has a little bit of blade play. I'm talking with John Grimsmo. I've got to measure the stop pins. I am going to repair this knife for a customer with John's permission. He's going to send me the parts I need. So this customer's knife is not getting sharpened until I get the size larger stop pin and get it installed so that I can get the blade plate out of this knife for this customer. And John is great. I told him, I was like, hey, if I carbonize this lock face and I get rid of this lock, will that screw up their warranty? He goes, oh yeah, please don't do that. And I was like, okay. He goes, if you measure it and you get all the measurements for me, and if you're confident that you can install an oversized stop pin, and I was like, I've done it on my NTAX. It's not that hard. He's like, okay, if you're confident you can do it, I'll send you the parts and you can fix this person's knife. If they get played with, every knife will do. I'm going to tell you what, Sky, Every knife, developed blade play. Every one of them. Lock rock. It's lock rock. So when it's open, there's a little bit of lock rock. So, not blade play, but you can get blade play in a Norseman if you don't tighten it down and you let it get loose. So it's just been loved enough. It's in the 3000s. It's a number 3000 somewhere. But it's got a little bit of lock rock. And I told him, and he was like, because it's an American customer, I'm like, I can do it. I'll measure the stop pins for you. You just got to tell me which one of the two stop pins needs to be measured. And he didn't answer back, so I'm going to measure them both. So I'm going to shoot him an email. I might run up to the shop today and just measure those stop pins so I can get him to send those, because you can't send them back. What kind of pivot oil do I use? So for pivots, I use KPL. For these, okay, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of knowledge that I've acquired. Out the fronts, do not use regular lubricating oil. Don't use like a KPL or a nano oil or CLP that stays liquid. You want something, this is what they recommend, and this is what I've used on all of the OTFs I've ever had, and it works great. Rem oil, just a drop. Usually, this knife was extraordinarily stiff. So usually just a drop at the top on either side of the blade and let it run through a little bit and then work the action a little bit back and forth. That's usually enough. And if it's really, really stiff, then maybe a drop here and here. And then just wipe off your excess. It's a dry lubricant. It's gonna evaporate. It stays liquid for a little bit, but it does not gum up. I had my Microtech Ultratech get so stiff, and it's just because the oil I had used gummed up, and all the pocket lint and shit was in it, and so the action got really stiff. And so I just had to take it apart, clean all the parts with alcohol, and then put a drop or two of Rem oil in it. Actually, I used Tough Glide at the time. It's horrible. It stinks. That's when I switched to Rem oil. Tough Glide or Rem oil. I don't use Rem oil on anything but out the fronts. On out the fronts, I only use Rem oil. It seems to work the best. I've tried several different dry lubricants. The PETF, the ones that evaporate, like Rem oil, Tough Glide. It's not the same. It's not the same. It fucking stinks. Like, it stinks. I threw it away. I threw a whole bottle of it because it stinks. Somebody told me you could use White Lightning. Yeah, I don't like it. It stinks. Like, and no joke, you can open your knife case and the entire room smells like Tough Glide. Tough Glide, it takes forever to dry up, and it smells like that forever. So I would open my knife case, and you're like, God, that stuff stinks. You could smell it, like you're carrying the knife. You could smell it through the house. I'm like, that stuff is nasty. This doesn't stink. Rem oil doesn't stink. My wife told me I wasn't allowed to use the Tough Glide in the house. Like, she was adamant about it. And I had to put whatever it was, wrap it up. It doesn't seem like it does either. And you got to shake it up a lot. Like, or it has chunks in it. Have you ever noticed that? Like, Tough Glide, unless you shake it up really hard, has like chunks of the Teflon in it, the PETF. It's like it's like it gets chunky in it. I threw it away. It stinks and it gums up. You don't see any of that in this. It's just perfectly clear. This stuff is actually pretty good on guns too. Now that I mentioned it, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? You shake it up and there's just like little clumps in it of like greasy. Like, if you touch them, they're like, it's almost like, it's like globs of grease inside your lubricant. And this stuff, never had an issue with that. And this is a 2-ounce bottle of Rem oil that I've had forever. and you can't use all of it. That bottle will probably dry up and crack, and I'll have to throw it away before I ever use all of that. And I know this because the last bottle of Rem oil that I had another small Rem oil bottle that I had left cap off and it evaporated. And so I cleaned it out and I put the Rem oil in it just a little bit. I gave the rest to Nico. Before I could use what was left of it, the bottle got brittle and cracked and leaked, and I had to throw it away and buy a new bottle. I have never used an entire bottle of Rem oil. There's more of it there than any person needs. If you need 2 ounces of Rem oil, I want to know what you're doing. No one needs 2 fluid ounces of Rem oil. Dude, I work on a lot of knives. Chris and Elliot still have a bottle of KPL at their shop that they got from same time frame. We all got a bottle of KPL. Mine is right here. I've had mine for a year, and mine has that much left, but I take a lot of knives apart. So do Chris and Elliot. Mine's under half. Chris and Elliot still have their original bottle of KPL, and like, holy crap, it's about time we're going to have to order another one, because you literally need a drop. Like, a drop. I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns, to necessitate a rack. Christian, you do what? I don't understand what Christian is telling me. He said, I do. I use a drop. So on each knife, I'll use a drop on each bearing. If it's a little stiff, I'll take it back apart and I'll actually lube the pivot itself. I like the regular. I don't like the heavy. I don't think it gets you anywhere. I don't think that it does any better on the detent than, I know they have that heavier one that's for the detent. I don't think that it does anything. And so that's one of the things I'll do if it doesn't feel like the oil has gotten down. So I do a drop on each bearing, and then I get it to where the lock bar is out and where I can get to the detent. I'll lock it up, and then I'll put a small drop, just whatever's left on the needle, and just put a tiny bit on the detent ball. And so like maybe 3 drops per knife. And I don't mean like a drop, like a big drop. I'm talking just enough that you can see there's some on the nozzle and touch it to the bearings. Same thing on the other bearing, same thing on the fucking, not even a full drop. I don't know, but why would you want to not let something that's copper patina? Look at how sexy that is. I don't know. Your best bet to keep it, I'm going to tell you right now, your best bet to keep copper from patinaing is fucking Vaseline. Just smear it with Vaseline and then wrap it up and then put a note in saying that they have to clean them themselves. Same thing with washers, because I don't use oil on washers. I don't use oil on washers. Any of my washer knives, they either get fluorinated grease or they get this. This works great on washer knives. I do not. This is that thing. Like everybody's like, oh, bearings are worse. Bearings are worse than washers. And I disagree. I think bearings are a definite step up from washers. If you use the proper lubrication on your knives, bearings are better than washers. If you use grease on your bearings, it's not going to work. If you use oil on your washers, it's not going to work as well. Washers get grease, larger surface area, needs a different kind of lubrication. Bearings, little itty bitty spots. You need a thin lubricant that's not going to gum up in the race and grab stuff and gum up. Most of the knives I get people like, oh, I hate bearings, it's garbage. It's because they're using grease on their bearings. Frog lube on their bearings. I'm like, man, and you just got to soak it in acetone for like 20 minutes, get that stuff out of the bearing race. I'm like, manufacturers make recommendations for a reason. And everybody's like, well, the bearings on a truck get grease. And I'm like, the bearings on a truck, motherfucker, are rolling 24/7. Every time that truck's in motion, those bearings are constantly rolling. To get the same, everybody's like, well, bearings wear out. Look, they do it on cars. I'm like, you know how many times you have to flip a knife to get the same amount of wear that you would get in an hour of bearings spinning in a truck? It's insane because you're only going 1/2 rotation each time. You're not going all the way around each time. So when people tell me, well, bearings will wear out, they do in cars, you're looking at two completely different applications. Fluorinated grease. Fluorinated grease, or like I said, I use TW25 Bravo, which is a really expensive armament oil or armament grease that the military used to use and they no longer do. It's great. And this stuff is probably some of the best lubricant for washers and for guns that I've ever found in my life. So I see people that do that and they're like, I want to convert my bearing knife to washers. It just doesn't have the right action. And I'm like, send it to me. I mean, look at it. And I get it. And it's full of grease and it's gummed up. And it's because they are trying to do the same thing with their washer knives that they do with their bearing knives, and it doesn't work. They try to do the same thing on the bearing knives they do with their washer knives, and it doesn't work. And then they're like, oh, bearings are garbage. Everybody's like, oh, washer knives are so much better. I have one washer knife that I like. One. And it's my Sebenza. And I think it would be better if it was on if it was on bearings. I have one washer knife that I really, really, really like that I would never get rid of. And it's my Sebenza. And I honestly think that knife would be better if it was on bearings. And everybody's like, well, bearings get dirty. I was like, bearings are also spread out enough that you can just put it under the frickin' sink and wash it out. You get grit in between the bearing, in between a washer and the blade, you got to take it apart. You get enough grit that you get it down inside your Sebenza, you've got to take it apart. There's no way to just wash it out. I can take every one of my bearing knives and turn on hot water and spray hot water through there, run the action a few times, put a drop of KPL in it, run the action a couple of times, rinse and repeat because the KPL will pick up any of the stuff that didn't get washed out, then put in fresh lubricant and go right back together. I don't take my knives apart very often at all. Bearing knives very rarely to take apart, and I'll show you why, since we're talking about it. Fuck Greg. I take Greg's knives apart all the time. I like Greg, but I will tell you, Greg is a pissy little bitch sometimes. So let's use this one as an example, only because it's got a large area that you can actually see. Let's turn this around. So if you look in that knife, if I could ever get it to focus, I don't think you guys are going to be able to. Yeah, you will. See there? See how I can see the points of every one of those bearings? You can see there's grit and gunk in there. This knife hasn't been cleaned in probably a year and a half. I can't even take it apart anymore because the screws are stripped. And the action on this is perfectly fine. And I will explain something to you. So everybody that thinks that bearings are better is right. You know why? Bearings are a small little surface. There's a bunch of very, very, very little surface. They were on washers. Their knives are great, but I'm going to tell you, you can't just stick it under the sink and wash it out. And it might be on bearings. I'd have to look. But this knife has not been taken apart in a very long time because, like I said, the tool for it is stripped. So the reason why, even though that's really dirty and the action on this is fine, is because instead of having a washer and a blade that are doing this, I've got this. Very little surface tension. If you're still making knives on washers, it's because you're too lazy to just figure out the offset and pocket to put in bearings. At this point, I'm convinced it's just that either you've got it dialed in and that's the way you want your knife to feel, like a Sebenza, or you just don't want to put in the effort to go from an older version, which basically those bearings, those are bearing surfaces. So those washers act as what are called bushings. If you don't want to move up to using bearings, which makes a less maintenance intensive knife, then either your knife feels exactly the way you want it to, or you're lazy. What was that? I mean, you can have tighter tolerances and stuff with washers, I will admit. But the fact is, I'm not an aerospace engineer. None of my knives are going to be used in the aerospace industry. I do believe that all of that super high tolerances and things like that, I look at it like this. The tighter something is, the more chance of failure. I'll put this in perspective. 1911. If you grab a 1911, you shake it, and it's all sloppy and you hear parts rattling around in it, you know that gun's going to go boom every time. I like Greg. I do like Greg, but he can be. I've seen him do dumb things in public, talking about his knives. So a 1911 that's got a loose, rattly mechanism is always going to fire. A 9mm that's really tight, you get it a little bit dirty, it may malfunction. That 1911, you can drag it behind a car through a muddy field and rinse it off in a mud puddle, load it, and make it go bang. You can't do that. So the tighter the tolerance, the more chance of failure, because it doesn't take very much in that to go awry for something to go, oh, hey, there's a little piece of dirt in there. I can't move because it's so tight. If you got something sloppy, a little piece of dirt gets in there and it just rides back. I don't like washer knives in general. I will admit that some of the knives I have here are washers. I'll show you one that kind of is an exception to the rule. I'm not a big fan of, like I said, washer knives. This knife was on washers. It was great, but this was D2 and it was starting to show fingerprints and stuff. So I just coated the D2 blade of my Penguin Saturday, as a matter of fact. This is on washers, but it's not washer to blade. It's washer, nylon washer, or the Nylotron washer, or Teflon washer, and then scales. So that's the smoothness you're feeling on this. And I'm not gonna lie, this knife is great, it's smooth, it's got good lockup. But this knife is not going to last as long. As much as I love this knife, and I'm gonna tell you, this is a great budget knife. These are about 30 bucks. This knife is not going to last as long as any of the high-end knives in my case. And you know what my high-end knives in my case all run on? All of them but one run on bearings. Well, what I'm saying is that for maintenance purposes and care of and use and being able to take care of it, bearings offer you an opportunity to just take a compressor and blow it out. Rinse it under the sink, take an air compressor, blow it out, and put a drop of oil in it. I can't tell you how long it's been since I've taken one of my bearing knives apart, unless it was just because I was bored. I will say I have a couple knives, though. Drop shed action means absolutely nothing. A lot of times what it means is, like with this has a little bit of weak lock bar tension, really large detent ball, and a heavy blade. That's why this one's action is as smooth. And if I oil this, if I was put a drop of oil on this, it would just drop shut. I like metal caged bearings in the brass. I don't care. I don't think ceramic bearings make a big deal unless you're somebody that's going to carry that knife in a saltwater environment where you're going to get those bearings to rust. Then you might want to look at a ceramic bearing race. Some of the smoothest knives I have run on a very small, tiny metal bearing race that's caged in. They're metal bearings caged in copper. You know the ones I'm talking about. The small ones, the ones that the Ferrum Forge guys use, those seem to be some of the better ones. I have a couple of those. Ceramic bearings, I really don't think. Multi-row. Okay, so back to the bearings. and having multiple little points, so much less surface tension. If you have multiple rows of bearings, you're adding more bearings, you're just adding more friction. I really don't, I mean, I don't, I have two knives that are that have multiple row bearings, and they are always the ones I have to take apart and clean up. That's what I was gonna say. The only exception is those multi-row bearing races that are in plastic. They gum up my Heeeeeey Horizon D and my Heeeeeey 601. Those two knives have multiple row bearing systems and they're ceramic in plastic. All of my other knives are in a metal race, except for this one, but this is a different kind of plastic. They all gum up. They all gum up, and I have to take my Heeeeeey Horizon D and my fucking Heeeeeey 601 apart way more often than any, like, they're the only ones that I have to take apart and clean up. The multi-row bearing systems, I don't think they're as smooth. Like my Horizon D, it's been carried enough that it's starting to feel gritty. You can hear it. And that's not the detent, that's the bearings. Because that same sound, I'm taking lock bar tension off. I took the lock bar tension off of that. What kind of lock is good for chopping? None. If you want to chop on stuff, get a fixed blade. Folding knives were not meant for chopping. There are some, you can get a triad lock. It would put up with it for a while, but I don't care whatever lock. I don't care what lock you put on a knife, eventually chopping is going to cause damage. You want to chop on things? Get an SRK, get a machete, get a fucking hatchet, get a knife that is meant for that, which would be a fixed blade. I fully expect this one to be demonetized. I've dropped a lot of F-bombs in it, but I'm gonna have to get off of here, guys. I haven't taken the dog out for a walk. I'll give you guys another, we'll make this a full hour. I'll give you guys another 13 minutes. Yeah. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong, the action on this knife, this little QSP Penguin, it's great for a washer knife. I don't think this knife is not going to hold up to the rigors of the stuff I all did. But the fact is, you know that you can do it because Outer Limitless did it with one of my production models, so you know that it'll hold up to it. Speaking of which, you know what pocket knife you need in the military? You need a Swiss Army knife. That's what you need. If you're on a ship, doesn't matter where you're at, you just need a Swiss Army knife for a folding knife. That's it. As far as a fixed blade knife, you need something that's gonna meet your needs. If you're in the military. I fucking love this knife, man. This was a way for a while. No one really got to see it. This was a way for someone, and they were supposed to do a video, and they had it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And it shows back up in the mail, and they were like, dude, I love the knife. And I'm like, great. When's the video coming out? And he goes, bro, man, I never got around shooting a video. I just sent your knife back. And I was like, so you just carried my baby? You just carried my baby and that's it? Yeah, I did a video on a K2, like when they first came out. Neebs, I thought you watched my videos. You should be able to go and look, and you'll find a Heeeeeey K2 video in there. I had a K2 and I sold it. Nico's K2, because the name of his company is K2 Concepts. That's why he got that knife. Was on the channel a long time ago. Man, Neebs, I'm disappointed in you. By the way, I saw the NTAC video. It was really good. I enjoyed that. Thank you. Just so you know, I did open up that finger choil, or that sharpening choil. Yes, I got a K2 as a gift, Sky, you're right. I opened up that sharpening choil because it did need to be a little bit bigger, and Elliot put that jimping on for me. Yeah, Neves is a fake fan. Confirmed. Confirmed! So, my NTAC is the only one of my Ferrum Forge knives I've modified the actual overall shape on. I have not done anything else to any of my other Ferrum Forge knives except anodizing and like ceramic coating and things like that. So that pocket clip stands out and is really shiny because I was just playing around and stuff like that on that N-Tac pocket clip. So that's why that pocket clip looks like it does. It used to be the same color as the scales. It was like a powder blue almost. So, but that N-Tac gets carried a lot. I'm surprised that shiny gold pocket clip has held up fairly well because I did that color scheme on my N-Tac over a year ago. And it's always in my pocket. I liked it so much I bought my dad one as a retirement gift. And when he passed away, my mom brought it back to me. No, Ethan, it's not. It's my own design. My favorite blade finish? Just a blast and tumble. Like if you were to look at the majority of my Ferrum Forge knives that are not here, the ones that Neves have, they're all just blast and tumble blades. Some of them have a higher end finish, like my Mordax, which Neves, I might send you the actual Mordax so that you can see it. Like this finish, I like this finish a lot. That I can speak of? No. So I like this finish. It's like a gunmetal. It's like a gunmetal polish. Well, I'm in an NDA with them, and this knife is a Ferrum Forge, an old school Ferrum Forge. This was just all blast and tumble in, and I just wanted all black ceramic on it. No, I didn't. Okay, so who's asking me this? Ethan Ruins EDC. Is it like a better small fixed blade update from? It's my own personal design. I just wanted a small fixed blade, and no one was making one. So it's not anything that I took from anyone. It's 100% just, I don't like any of the fixed blades. I want a small fixed blade that I can EDC because I want something I don't have to open and close when I'm working, and I can just put it right back. That knife was just a design. So, I mean, I don't know where you're going with it because I didn't like sit down with a bunch of other EDC fixed blade knives because I didn't like any of them. So it's not like I just kind of took some of the things that I liked from knives in general. I was like, I like thin. I'm gonna make it thin. Like I like thin, so I'll make the blade thin. I want the handle to just be just big enough that it fits in my hand, but then the blade, I can get up on it and so like that. So I just decided that I was gonna just design my own knife. Same thing with the Stonefish. I never liked the combat knives we got. And so I just took all the things that I would want from all of the knives I ever saw, including some stuff from small, like the thumb ramp on my Stonefish. Definitely is an homage to this because it's so comfortable in reverse grip. I didn't like sit down and say, oh, I want to take this knife and bring it into the modern era. No, I took a lot of stuff like updating phones, changing to getting better performance. I really don't know where you're going with this. We're comparing apples and oranges here. Wow, yeah, usually I was just mentioning when we first started that you're usually the first person here. Jeremy, you're late enough, my coffee is cold. Now, I know that there's not rim oil in this one. My wife keeps telling me I need to trim my mustache. And every time she tells me, it's just I add a week to it. She's like, you should trim your mustache. All right, I'm gonna add an extra week to that. So. How was the cold brew? It was really good, but I only drank a little bit of it. We were doing it. My wife was curious. So we go to Matt's. We go to Matt's and hang out almost every Sunday morning. That's Matt's only day really where he has the house to himself. His wife works. And so on Sundays, Matt's like, let's just hang out and we'll watch movies, we'll just hang out, we eat breakfast, we'll let the dogs play. So his friend Sam comes over, I come over, my wife and kid come over every once in a while. So the cold brew, she had asked him about that cold brew maker he had because she was curious about it because they're not that expensive. And she likes iced coffee. And he's like, well, I'll just make her a pot because she didn't come with me yesterday. He's like, well, I'll just make her a pot. So I had a glass of it and I'm like, wow, that's really good. That is really, really good. And he's like, yeah, you can just set your timer for like 15 minutes. If you want to run it through twice, you can. He's like, it's got a lot of caffeine, but it's not like really strong and bitter. And I was like, yeah, it's really good. So we may be getting we were thinking about it. And then when I got ready to make coffee, when I got home that afternoon, my wife's, can you make a pot of coffee for me? Like a small pot? Coffee pot doesn't work. So I had to, gotta get a pot. Gotta get a coffee pot. So I don't know what happened. Coffee pots are so expensive these days. This one I got for 19 bucks. This is a Mr. Coffee and it's got a timer and a delay brew and stuff like that. I paid 20 bucks for it. You can't buy that for 20 bucks anymore. The Perp Medic? No. So I don't know. You might be new to the channel. Asking me about knives, whether I've seen them. By the time I get done with a day of doing YouTube videos and working on knives, making knives, and thinking about knives to design, I don't actively go out and seek out knives to look at or to research. By the time I get done with all that, I am so done with knives at the end of the day. I watch goofy videos and stuff like that. I very rarely, very, very rarely do I ever search anything about a knife. Unless I'm going to do a video about it and I want to get the specs, I might watch some other videos that other people have mentioned things that I may miss, but very, very rarely. Like I'll look at, like, if I want to look at like the internals of a knife, but I don't want to take it apart, I'll find Nick Shabazz's channel and I'll ask Nick, like I'll text Nick because I'm friends with him. I'll shoot Nick Shabazz a text and be like, hey man, did you do a video about this knife? And he goes, yeah, I did a full breakdown. And I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. And I'll go to his channel and I'll search it. Because there's a lot of times a knife comes in, I don't need to take it apart. You guys don't need to see what it looks like in the inside. There's plenty of people that do that. I'll just point you in that direction. Like, hey, Nick Shabazz did a really good video about it. I don't, actually, here's the thing. As much as I like my little fixed blade that I made, and I made my combat knife, I very rarely carry anything fixed blade other than the sea snake. And I carry that sea snake. Matt says snee snake. Now he's got me doing it. So where the fuck have you been? Jeez. I saw it. It looks like a really good knife. I just don't think it would be a design that, not 100% that it would be a design that I would like. Would I design a fixed blade for first responders? Kind of already did. That stonefish would be just about, that sea snake would be, I mean, there's stonefish, I mean, the bigger one. It's not huge either. It's like a 9-inch knife. Stonefish. That's what I'm saying. I mean, basically that was my combat utility tactical knife. So it's, I don't need to go, I'm not gonna, there's a whole thing where people are like, oh, I'm gonna make this knife for a specific group, right? And that sounds cool, but guess what? There's only so many of that group that's gonna buy that knife. And if you've already limited it to that small group, and a smaller group of that small group are the ones that purchase that knife, and it does not appeal to anyone else outside of that, then you've wasted your time. It's like, I don't know if you guys remember this, back in the day, there used to be left-handed scissors, left-handed pencil sharpeners, and left-handed stuff. Well, guess what we don't do anymore because it's not financially viable. We don't cater to 10% of the population. There are some companies that still do make left-handed items, but the fact is, companies realize that making two versions of everything and only one half of that, like only 1/10 of the population, like 10% of the population, was buying that item, they're like, well, this is stupid. Have you noticed that there's not a lot of left-handed knives anymore? You know why? Because it costs money to do two separate things. Like that's additional runtime. That's everything that's you've got to design a left and a right hand scale. Some companies go as far as like, we'll flip the pocket clip for you, but we're not making a left hand knife. And that's starting to go away. Because you know what? My buddy Matt is like, I actually prefer carrying a right-handed knife because he's like, I'm not on the lock bar. He's like, when I carry it left-handed, and he's like, and I can manipulate that lock. It's actually easier when I'm doing it left-handed on, you see what I'm saying? He's like, I don't even get left-handed knives anymore. He's like, I just get right-handed ones. They're actually more comfortable. That's one of those things that I'm like, whoa, where's the left-handed version? Get a fixed blade. It's ambidextrous. It's like trying to... Eugene from Olamic. Yeah, it's a lovely Eugene. He's a great guy. Well, guys, I do have to get off of here. I have things that I got to do. I have definitely went from any semblance of yellow or green time definitely into red. And I do have stuff here that has to get done. So, I'm going to put all this stuff away. I'm going to end this. You guys take it easy. Like I said, I'm going to film the giveaway video. The CJRB RIA will be given away. I'll do the giveaway. All you have to do is you're like I said so many times, your comment is your entry. Multiple comments could get you, like if it looks like you're trying to stack the deck, I will disqualify you and I'll take down your comments. It's not gonna be until this afternoon. I basically have to change and run, and I've got to call and make an appointment for the plumber that was supposed to show up Saturday that never did. So that's another thing. I got a downstairs toilet that's busted, that's leaking, and so the plumber is coming. Get a home warranty. Home warranty, $75 is going to cover this guy coming to fix my toilet, which would cost me hundreds. Love you guys. Got to get out of here. Talk to you later.